start at 6:30. We never seem to always start at 6:30 simply because it's, people trying to get here from rush hour. I see people still coming in. So exciting meetup tonight. We do these every month. And for those of you that don't know, let me run through a couple quick slides and then we will get Adam up and running. So we do have Wi-Fi here in Sendine. This is the information if you need it. Very good with that. All right. So real quick, this is me. I run this meetup with a number of other people. I am a career IT software guy. We do a lot of development lately in blockchain, a number of different technologies. We're working on 7 different blockchain projects currently with other companies. We do a lot of stuff with big data, data analytics, and AI. Yes? Oh, you can't hear this? I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. What's funny is I think the speaker's behind me, and I can hear it's blaring, so I thought everybody can hear me loud. I apologize. Oh, back over there. Okay. Damien, did you turn it up? Can you guys hear me better now? Nice. Awesome. Okay. All right. So, like I say, I do a lot of work with other companies personally. I kind of come in and provide a chief technology officer role to a number of businesses. We do a lot of blockchain projects. We do a lot of AI and data analytics projects. So if you guys have any interest or want to know more about that, just let me know. I've got some of my cards up here. Otherwise, we do this meetup every single month, the second Tuesday, 6:30 to 8:30. We talk about all kinds of blockchain-related things. We did an ICO pitch event last month, and we do all kinds of different stuff, very interesting stuff. So, all right, so these are the sponsors, my company, Sendine Spaces. Yep, that's Sendine Spaces. If people don't know, that's a co-working space that also provides access to this opening. What's really amazing about this is this space is really awesome, and they provide it to us at no cost. So if you guys are interested in doing meetups and whatnot, they do a lot of very awesome, all kinds of different meetups. There you go. All right, so we're starting to get ourselves on social media, the meetup group that is. So we are on Telegram, we're on Facebook and Twitter. And we're always looking for anybody that's willing to help with the meetup. The team has finally started to grow, which is super helpful. And if you guys have topics that you want to cover or whatever it is that you want to do, this is a community group. We talk about everything from Hyperledger to ERC20 tokens and like I said, ICO pitches and token economics and all kinds of different things. So it's a lot of interesting stuff. We're going to talk about master nodes and all kinds of other things that relate to various blockchain technologies that may be of interest to people. So okay. So I made the mistake of taking what Adam gave me literally and put it on a single slide. So this is hard for me to look at. I apologize. So this is Adam's short bio, and I apologize that I have to read it like this. But he's been preaching his long-term buy and hold Bitcoin strategy on his BitcoinMeister YouTube channel since 2013. He travels the world talking about Bitcoin. He likes to report from countries that get a lot of third-hand Bitcoin press mentions like Zimbabwe, South Korea, and Australia, so his viewers can learn about what is really taking place on the ground. Adam coined the term crypto dividend and was the first person to predict the friendly fork phenomenon that the space is currently experiencing. He posts at least one new show each day of the year. You can find him at disruptmeister.com, Steemit, and Twitter under TechBalt. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump out of this. And provide him his slide deck. Without further ado, Adam Meister.
All right. All right, let me see all my notes here. No, this is good. Yeah, I think everyone can hear me. I got a really loud voice. No, don't put that in there because it's gonna. Right? Not, don't put that. Yeah, don't plug that in. All right, dude. All right, dudes. It's time to wake up. It's time to get freaking pumped like you do when you watch my freaking show every day. Pound that like button because first of all, this is going to be the show today. I mean, yeah, I feel like making this my show today. He's taping it. I want to thank everybody that made this possible today. David, Alina, Jason, Mark, Richard, everybody. Oh yeah, shout out to Damien too right there. All right. So the price of Bitcoin, are you guys like freaked out by that? I mean, yeah, you got to have a strong hand. I've been in this thing for a long time. If you're in the cryptocurrency game, you got to be used to the price just jumping all over the place. One thing I recommend on days like this, just don't check the price. 1 Bitcoin equals 1 Bitcoin. Don't worry about the fiat price of all your cryptocurrency. The market went down 10%, so what? If you keep checking it all day, you just keep thinking about it. And that's where you're gonna make your mistake. You're gonna think about it so much, I gotta flip it now, I gotta trade it now, I gotta do this with it now. The best thing to do with your Bitcoin is to do nothing with your Bitcoin. But what cryptocurrency life is all about is the temptations of losing your Bitcoin. People are constantly trying to take away your Bitcoin from you, whether you like it or not. And again, I'm using the term Bitcoin because that's the only thing I've ever bought with fiat. That is the rock. That is the main cryptocurrency. I've traveled around this entire world. It's synonymous with cryptocurrency. But in the question and answer section after this, you can ask me about any cryptocurrency. We could talk about all sorts of other aspects. But this thing, I wanted to be about tuning out the crypto noise. Stay focused and keep your Bitcoin. And again, what we're experiencing today, what we've experienced from the price going from near $20,000 down to $6,000, this is old news. Welcome to the club. I went through this something similar in 2013. It went all the way up to 1,100, and then slowly it went down to 200. And everybody and their mother out there was saying, it's dead, it's dead, it's dead. And all these people were selling their Bitcoin, saying it's dead. And now they look back, and they're like, and people are saying, it'll never get back up to 1,100, never get back up to 1,100. And then we look back and laugh, and people will be like, yeah, I wish I bought it at 1,100 back then. So you just got to have that long-term mentality. I say this on my channel a lot. Long-term thinking. And since this is my show today, remember people, pound that like button if you're watching this show. I think some of you are familiar with that saying of mine. Anyway, so yeah, you want to keep Bitcoin as boring as possible. There's no need to do anything with your Bitcoin. It's all about avoiding losing your Bitcoin, actually, which is very simple if you do nothing. But if you try to complicate matters, you're going to lose your Bitcoin. You know, people are telling you, well, invest in my project, invest in this, become a trader, send it here, send it there. There's all sorts of scams. Be real careful, people. I don't know. We have all sorts of levels of people here, from beginner to experts. Even the experts make mistakes when they're moving around their Bitcoin a lot and not thinking about it, being impulsive about it. I've been keeping it simple since 2013. I'm kind of like a grandmother. I'm just a saver. I buy and I just hold. And I know it doesn't sound very exciting, but I've been preaching this for quite some time, and I was just telling people to buy when it was 400, 500, 600. So it's turned into me just making a whole, I guess, career out, a persona out of this, and making videos about it, traveling the entire world, because Bitcoin has given me that freedom. Since I was buying it way back in the day when it was quite low compared to now, but people thought it was expensive. It's given me a great savings account and great backup. But I know now even that we got to wait at least until the year 2020 when the next Bitcoin halving comes around. And you should research what the Bitcoin halving is. And again, I have never sold a Bitcoin for fiat. And another reason you don't want to do that, besides it being your savings account, because who cashes out their savings account? There's all sorts of tax implications. I mean, today I was talking to someone who has tremendous tax implications because he sold Bitcoin for various reasons. And it's not fun dealing with the IRS and, you know, all of a sudden you think you've made a lot of money on your Bitcoin and all of a sudden you have to pay $100,000 in taxes. I mean, then you have to sell more Bitcoin. It's a vicious cycle. So that's another way to keep your Bitcoin and just stay focused. Trading can be very distracting, definitely, and it gets you fixated on the fiat value. And again, if you're into crypto, I mean, value your wealth in Bitcoin. Think about what this is going to be, you know, what you're going to be able to use your Bitcoin to buy in the year 2021. Not that today that Bitcoin's worth $6,000. You know, set some goals in Bitcoin. Again, start your own businesses where you charge Bitcoin, and then don't spend it. And then in the long term, you'll be like, oh, you know, I thought I was charging that guy $200 an hour back then, but since I've never sold this Bitcoin, now it's worth $2,000 an hour. It's a good feeling. It's definitely a good feeling. Again, some people get bored by holding, but don't be impulsive. And as you can see, Bitcoin, a lot of people talk technical with Bitcoin. People lose themselves in the technicalities and get scared off by the big words and everything. I'm bringing the energy here. This is an energetic, positive thing. Even when the price is going down, you don't think about that. You think about, what is this going to do to the future of the world here? How is this going to change the world? How is cryptocurrency changing the world? And I've seen it firsthand in Zimbabwe, all over, in South Korea, in Mozambique. And I try to bring that energy level to all of you. I hope you can, I don't think anyone will come away like crazy like me after this, with the eyes wide open. But hey, watch the channel, disruptmeister.com. Maybe you'll get a little blast. And if you ever feel tempted, if you ever have that weak hand, watch the channel. I keep it real positive. I just keep encouraging that strong hand mentality. And again, what I mean by that is just hold on to that Bitcoin. Don't become tempted. Don't get a weak hand, because I've been around a lot of people and they regret it in a real big way in the end of the day. Hang on, I'm trying to operate this. Is this an Apple here? I can't even get the thing to scroll down here. 1 second. All right, so best practices of crypto, some do's and don'ts. Beware of fancy buzzwords out there. A lot of people like to talk about smart contracts, all sorts of innovations that other cryptocurrencies are doing. And they're great. I'm happy that there's all sorts of experimentation going around. But if you don't understand what they're talking about, if you just think, hey, man, this sounds fancy, I'm going to buy into it because I don't understand what they're talking about, that's a bad sign. Do not give up your Bitcoin to buy things you do not fully understand. Keep it simple. These altcoins, they're very cyclical. They'll go up, and then they'll go down for a long period, and then they'll pump again, and there'll be no reason, there'll be no rhyme or reason behind a lot of this stuff, and you might get caught on a down cycle. So again, don't get tempted into selling your Bitcoin because of catchy buzz phrases and fancy buzzwords that you don't understand. Some other words to totally avoid: cloud mining. Cloud mining is a scam, guys. Most of the time, if someone says, hey, invest in my cloud mining operation, it's basically a scam. Maybe 1% are real. Also, ICOs. ICOs can be, I'm sure some people have great intentions, but like 90% of them totally fail. You see all these huge moves, and maybe some of you are only into cryptocurrency because of ICOs. I would advise that before you get into ICOs, before you get into altcoins, learn how to send a Bitcoin. And I know some people are probably laughing at that. Like, of course I know how to do that. There are so many people I know out there, they'd like, all of a sudden they have a bunch of Monero, and they don't even know how to send a Bitcoin. I don't exactly know how they got the Monero in the first, and then they try to use their Monero recovery seed, and they end up using it at a scam site, and they lose all their Monero. Again, you got to take it real slow here, really slow. And again, a lot of people are laughing and everything, but again, on the subject of taking it slow, I know experts out. I know guys who have put on events who were like, yeah, I sent my Ethereum to an Ethereum Classic address. Why didn't that work, Adam? I said, oh, okay. I mean, there's a lot of you got to be able to send the Bitcoin before you start sending Ethereum for reasons like that. Before you can even store an Ethereum or before you can even store a Litecoin, learn how to send a Bitcoin. There are people that just go to Coinbase and they're like, well, Bitcoin's too expensive. It costs $7. I'll just get a cheaper version of Bitcoin. That's not a good reason to get another cryptocurrency. That's a unit bias. You can get like 1% of a Bitcoin if you want. You can get $10 worth of Bitcoin. There's a lot of these altcoins just pump because they're 20 cents or something. You can get 20 cents worth of Bitcoin. If you're buying into something, you don't know really what it is, how it works, how to send it, how to store it. That's not good. You're going to end up very regretting quite a lot of things. I mentioned the IRS. Sometimes when you're watching a YouTube video, maybe even watching my YouTube video, there are YouTube ads for various cryptocurrencies, various ICOs. And you're probably thinking, well, it's on YouTube. It must be. No. Avoid those things too, please. Just because it plays before I have no control over what plays before my videos. There were BitConnect advertisements before my videos and other very good people's videos. We cannot control that. And BitConnect was a total scam. If it seems too good to be true like BitConnect, it's too good to be true. Keep it simple with the Bitcoin. Have the strong hand. A lot of people are like, well, my Bitcoin's just sitting there. It's not gaining interest. Let me lend it to someone. I'll participate in one of these lending platforms. That's a real bad idea because they could just run away with your money. There's no reason why they shouldn't really run away with your money. I mean, you give them all your Bitcoin and they say, yeah, we're going to pay you 5% interest. Is that worth losing 100% of your Bitcoin for 5% every once in a while? No, it's not. And this is the wild, wild west, people. If you think people are nice out there, they're going to do what they say they're going to do, you're naive. It's take personal responsibility here. You've got to control your own private key. A lot of people, and smart people I know, technically advanced people I know, who just got a little lazy, they'll keep all their Bitcoin at Coinbase. That's not a good idea. Even though Coinbase might be insured, Coinbase is the best place to buy in the United States, whatever, you still don't really own your Bitcoin unless you control your private key. How about this? If you had your Bitcoin at Coinbase when there was the Bcash fork, you couldn't get your Bcash right away. You know why? Because the Bitcoin really wasn't yours. They took their time crediting everybody with their Bcash. They still haven't given everybody their BGold yet. That's why I recommend having a Trezor. That's where you can store your Bitcoin. You control your private key there. You got to split your Bcash there right away. You get to split your BGold there right away. Those are crypto dividends, the forks of Bitcoin. They split it for you. Never give away your private key to anyone. To a service. Right now there's all these Bitcoin forks out there. They're very tempting. If Trezor doesn't split it for you, just be patient. They're only worth like 0.5% of a Bitcoin anyway. If you give your private key to someone, and I know some people are laughing, they will take all of your Bitcoin. And don't try to split them on your own. I know of a guy who wanted to get B Diamond, and he lost 100% of his Bitcoin trying to get a 0.5% return. And he had quite a bit of Bitcoin too. It's not the mistakes people make, but again, this is personal responsibility. It's a minefield out there, and there are a million ways to lose your Bitcoin. And, well, here, let's talk some more. Storing. Oh, here we go. FUD and rumors. If you're on Twitter, if you're on social media, you're hearing all the time from people, this is the end, this is the end, this is the final crash, it's going down to 3,000. Don't fall into those traps, people. I went through this same cycle in 2013, 2014, 2015, where you have all these people panicking, trying to scare you out of their Bitcoin because they want your cheap Bitcoin. I mean, there's all sorts of psychological games out there. And if you feel like you're getting down, then just don't look at Twitter. Don't look at YouTube. Just get away from it, because in the long run, it'll come back. Again, they said it wouldn't go back to it would never come back to $1,100. You were an idiot to pay $700 for it. Oh, you're holding. It's a disgrace. You paid $500. You're a bag holder at $500. I mean, no. And so don't strengthen your hand against peer pressure, I guess. So yeah, I mentioned the Trezor, where you control your private key. For those of you a little bit more advanced, it's not a bad idea to have more than one Trezor. I totally trust a Trezor, but you can make mistakes too, or a Ledger Nano, whatever storage device you prefer. Have a Ledger Nano and a Trezor, so you learn how to use both. But catastrophic things can happen. Maybe you weren't that responsible, you lost your Trezor, and you didn't write down your recovery seed correctly. If you have 10 Bitcoin, why not split the 10 Bitcoin between one Trezor and a Ledger Nano? Consider it an insurance policy. To insure, $60,000 to pay $200 extra, I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it. So again, be as careful as possible, be as cautious as possible. Take your time when sending your Bitcoin. Again, with this whole Bcash thing, people who have tried to trade their Bitcoin by accidentally send their Bitcoin to their Bcash address at their Poloniex exchange. And then Poloniex says, well, we're going to charge you to get your Bitcoin, because you can't just get it back. If you sent your Bitcoin to a Bcash address, there's all sorts of complications. So Poloniex, I think, charges like 0.1 Bitcoin to correct that mistake. Be very careful. Be very careful when you're sending to your exchanges that you're sending it to the right place, because you might just get stuck where you don't have your Bitcoin for a very long period of time. I know guys that's happened to. Cryptocurrency is unconfiscatable wealth. Only if you go about things in the right way and you're careful, okay? So if you're keeping it on a third party, because people say to me, oh no, so the government could take it from me. Sure, any government. Yeah, if you're storing it at Coinbase, yes, they can take it. But again, it's not really your Bitcoin. It's unconfiscatable when it's on that Trezor, okay? They cannot take it away from you if they do not know your private key. They could take the Trezor away from you, but they're not going to know how to break that either. And if they took it away from you, you would still have your recovery seed. You would upload your recovery seed onto another Trezor, and you would take care of business. So that is the beauty of cryptocurrency, of Bitcoin, that if you properly store it, if you know what you're doing, it's unconfiscatable. That's one of the reasons I love it so much. So some more temptation that's out there. Sometimes you'll hear about these glamour areas for Bitcoin, like Bitcoin is so up and coming in Africa. And I've been to South Africa, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, Namibia, and I know all sorts of dudes doing all sorts of things with Bitcoin there. That doesn't mean that you should take your Bitcoin and invest in some project in Nigeria or something like that, okay? You're really asking for trouble when you're getting into projects in the foreign countries that there's going to be incredible growth rate in those countries, but you really don't. There's going to be incredible growth rate in Bitcoin alone in terms of its fiat value. You're better off just holding on to that Bitcoin instead of getting into some exotic project where you can tell all your friends, yes, I'm now the owner of one of the largest Namibian cryptocurrency exchanges. I don't think the risk is worth it right there. Distribute your cryptocurrency over multiple wallets. I mentioned that. If you're new to this, you can sign up for a free account, Bitcoin account at blockchain.info. Play around with it a little bit. Buy yourself only buy yourself from Coinbase or wherever, a bit of Bitcoin that you're comfortable with, $100, and then you send it back and forth. Play games with it, experiment with addresses before you get into like you buy your first Bitcoin. Again, the first goal all of you should have is getting to 1 Bitcoin eventually. And then, kind of figure out in the future, if I want to retire one day, how many Bitcoin am I going to need? And that's your own decision. I cannot tell you that. And then make that your goal. Make that your goal and do it over time. Cost, what's it called? Dollar averaging over time. You don't have to, again, the price is going down now. Well, why not buy now then? Don't think of it as a time to sell when the price is going down, because you never know when it's going to go up and never go back down again to that. A lot of people back when it was fluctuating between 700 and 1100 thought, hey, I'll sell now at 1100, I'll buy back at 600. Well, it never got back down to 1100 again, and they're still waiting. And I don't think it'll go back down to 1100. And they missed out on all the crypto dividends, the free B cash, the free BGold. So there's, 90% of traders lose money. And I know some people are traders out there. It's fun to gamble. It's fun to speculate. And the feel of winning is great. But most people end up losing. And that really is a terrible feeling, especially when you lost all that Bitcoin when it was $2,000 and now it's, $6,500. And you think how much Bitcoin how much it could have been worth, and how much B cash for free I would have gotten had I been actually holding it. So, bad actors want to trick you into accessing your wallets. I've got a lot of different email addresses, okay? Most of my email addresses have nothing to do with the cryptocurrency. Yet, at all of my email addresses, I get emails from Poloniex, Bittrex, Coinbase, telling me to click here, to log into my account. I've got an issue. Never do. Obviously, those are total scams. I recommend to people, even if you've got a Coinbase account, don't even click on the emails they send you, because maybe it isn't really the email from them. Always type in the URL or have it bookmarked on your browser. It doesn't hurt to be super careful, because there is so much spam being sent out there by various trolling groups, hacker groups. And again, they're sending it to my email address. They don't know that I'm the guy with the YouTube channel. They're just sending it to a random email address, hoping that they're hitting someone that's got a Coinbase account. And it works. And again, on Twitter, there's the scam that says, hey, well, I'll tweet out something with, I'm TechBalt on there, by the way, TechBalt, with my Adam Meister big smiley face. I'll send a real tweet, and then right below it, all of a sudden, there'll be other tweets with a big Adam Meister smiley face that'll say TechBalt, that'll say, hey, send me 0.001 Ethereum, I'll send you 0.1 Ethereum back. It's, compliments to all my fans. And someone fell for that, actually. They contacted me. I got a tweet from someone saying, hey, I didn't get the 0.1 from you. I'm like, oh my God. You hadn't heard about that one yet? But people fall for this. It's terrible on Twitter. No one's giving away free anything, people. Adam Meister definitely isn't giving away free Ethereum, free Bitcoin. No personality is giving away free anything. Never click on anything like that. I mean, just report it to Twitter or YouTube or whoever. YouTube comment sections. After all my videos, I've got all these pumps of Zaquila, all these, I don't know what these things even are, pump groups. Don't click on them either. BitConnect used to do that. There's all these pyramid scheme type things out there where people are compensated to spread the word over all sorts of social media. And some of these people are real people. So it seems legitimate. Maybe they're talking about, maybe this coin is the next big thing. It's not. Bitcoin is the next Bitcoin, by the way. And this is another one of my sayings, but I really mean it. I mean, you're going to hear about, I've been through this a long time, and this is a great way to lose your Bitcoin. Again, hey, Bitcoin's stagnant. Bitcoin's the grandpa coin. This new coin is going to be the next Bitcoin. This is the one that's going to go up next, just like Bitcoin did. Sell your Bitcoin for this. And people buy into it because they want to have that. They feel like they missed out. You didn't miss out, people. You didn't miss out on Bitcoin. We are so early on in all of this still. We are super early on. I mean, think about it. It's still hard for many people to send one Bitcoin to another Bitcoin address. And again, I know it might be easy for many of you, but some of the letters, the numbers, it's all intimidating. There's no easy user interface yet. That's how early on we are in this. It's like the internet in 1994, okay? And all of you know the internet has grown incredibly since 94, 95, 96, since the 90s. We are very early on. So you really got to be patient, and you can't be impulsive. I know I've said it many, many times, but if you are, one day you're gonna look back and you're gonna be like, I wish I had that Bitcoin that I, bought that Ethereum Classic with. Not that Ethereum Classic is bad or anything like that. That's just the one that came. Or that I bought that Ripple with. Like, I really regret buying that Ripple. But first of all, and some people are, I have a sibling of mine actually said, well, what about this Ripple thing I'm hearing about? I'm like, do you even know what it is? He's like, no, but it's cheap and it's been going up lately. Again, these are not good reasons. Just be patient with the Bitcoin. The people selling their Ripple will be very happy to take your Bitcoin from you. I think they understand. What do we get there? I've got so many things here. How many people here were around for the bear market from 2014 to 2015? The guys I know. Okay. So I'll say this as calmly as possible. I mean, people were jumping ship. It got so quiet out there. I went to events like hardly anyone. Like, people were thinking there are going to be no more Bitcoin events even because so few people were interested in it, okay? And it went down to, it went under 200 maybe once, and people were they were sad. They were depressed. Just compare that to now. It went from 20,000 to 6,000. And that's in percentage drop, that's huge, okay? Whatever, but compare it to those small numbers from the past. It's nothing. It passes in time. I have lived through it. We're just going through the cycle, a down cycle again. And, everybody, again, the mainstream media, we're saying all sorts of bad things about Bitcoin. Then they're saying it's all repeating itself again. It's all repeating itself. So, there's a little history lesson that I think will make your hands a little stronger also. Storing. We talked about storing coins. Let's see. I hope I don't even know if all my notes are on here now. 1 second. Okay. Okay, yeah, we got the word wrap going. All right. I think that's about it then. I think I've given some good reasons to hang on and be careful there. And there's a lot of other deep topics on here. I don't know if we should get into everything here. I've different things to do with different wallets. Here we go. Here's what I wanted to mention. There are a lot of people out there that are like, hey, you need a portfolio. You need a portfolio of crypto assets. And I'm the guy to manage your portfolio. I'm going to pick out everything for you. I manage this fund of cryptocurrencies. If you're really interested in having a portfolio of cryptocurrency, buy them yourself. Do it yourself. Learn how to store each one yourself. Don't rely on some third party. He can run away with everything. And again, diversification for the sake of diversification is not a good idea. It's a way to lose Bitcoin. Learn how to store that Bitcoin. Cryptocurrency is about personal responsibility and having control of that private key and not relying on others. So if you ever find yourself relying on others to hold your Bitcoin, to manage your Bitcoin, to buy it for you, to buy this cryptocurrency for you, to give you this cryptocurrency advice, to tell you how to trade, then you're kind of floating away from some of the main great aspects of Bitcoin. So with that, questions? Yes.
So I heard you mention it seems like you want to focus on Bitcoin.
Yes.
So if I buy a certain amount of Bitcoin and have it on the side for storage, and then I buy altcoins, like 5 of them, can use the altcoins, the oscillation. Great, thank you.
Yeah, no, so far he was.
So, and then you
Well, this is the thing. It's easier said than done. He's talking about, the price of altcoins do jump around a lot, and you can use them as a tool to get more Bitcoin. And I have all sorts of trading people tell me, I'm only into altcoins to get more Bitcoin. And that's great. That's a great reason to be into altcoins. But it's easier said than done. It's easier said than done. You can't time the market perfectly. You're going to lose sometimes. And again, legally, I believe when you're going back from altcoins, and again, I'm not giving tax advice here, but in some jurisdictions, you're going back from altcoin. It's a taxable event, so you have to consider those. Those type of implications also. So again, keeping it simple. If you just hold Bitcoin, there's nothing being transacted. You don't have to worry about paying the taxes because you're not selling your Bitcoin. You pay taxes when you sell your Bitcoin. Bcash versus Bitcoin. Now, I'm a Bitcoin guy, definitely. They're free to go their own way and experiment. It's centralized. It has some figureheads behind it. They think that what Bitcoin is going to be all about right now is easy transactions. Like if you want to go to the coffee place and buy coffee, let's do it with Bcash. They want to make it fast. And in my experience, not that many people want to use cryptocurrencies right now for small transactions. They're using it to preserve their wealth, to move their wealth out of countries that have capital controls like Zimbabwe. But again, Dash also is a cryptocurrency that's into daily little transactions. So Bcash can compete with Dash. Bcash can compete, and Bitcoin with SegWit and Lightning Network, you can make small transactions now. They were not patient, the Bcash people. They wanted the quick, cheap, small transactions now. And they didn't want to wait for segregated witness and Lightning Network as second layer solutions on top of Bitcoin. So they did their own thing. And so good luck to them. The thing that I liked about what I don't like that some Bcash people do is they say we're the real Bitcoin, and that can confuse people. And that's another reason why I try to tell people just hold on to your Bitcoin so you don't end up sending it to a Bcash address that somebody said was a Bitcoin address, and now everything's gone totally haywire. But yeah, I don't like the aspect of certain people, but there are good people in the Bcash community that really do believe that, and I wish them luck. And again, I enjoyed getting all that free Bcash because I controlled I had all my Bitcoin on my Trezor, and then all of a sudden what a world we live in. You can have this pretty volatile asset, and then from doing nothing, you get a completely new volatile asset that all of a sudden is worth quite a bit. Bcash did, in terms of fiat, it was up to like $3,000 at one point. It was incredible. And a lot of people got it for free. I tell people too, why buy something that you got for free? I don't believe in buying things that one could get for free. I like to be in the position to get things for free. And that's controlling your private key. And to a certain extent, you don't even need to buy Bitcoin. You can't get it for free per se. You can get it by, again, selling your services in Bitcoin. It does not hurt to ask someone, hey, why don't you pay me in Bitcoin? Or come up with a new, in this space, we need so many marketing people. There's social media. There's lots of openings. You don't have to be a tech head. You can earn Bitcoin. People will pay you for things in Bitcoin in the cryptocurrency space. Be in motion, as I say. Be in motion. It never hurts to ask. It never hurts to. You can email me at adam@trezorhelp.com. Find me at TechBalt on Twitter. Send me messages. I'm always willing to talk and advise. Yeah, someone.
Bcash is not faster than Bitcoin. Bitcoin and Bcash are actually almost exactly the same speed. The mining time is the same. The thing that Bcash people like to say is you can do it with 0 confirmations, which means you actually don't necessarily have a valid transaction. So that's the critical difference there.
That's what they're saying now, but they were saying it was faster before.
They were trying to make a claim that wasn't actually factually correct.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah. Okay, see, there were delays. Bitcoin was slow at one point. It was, but now with segregated witness, it isn't.
That's because the network was being spammed.
Yes. So I don't want to get into the entire debate here because this debate has gone on so long now. It is definitely jumped the shark, and as you can tell, they can go their way, Bitcoin can go their way, and it's about personal responsibility here, people. You make your own judgment. Do you want to be involved with Bitcoin or do you want to be involved with the Bcash? Obviously, I'm enjoying the Bitcoin side of things. I was in Singapore, and a guy comes up to me. He's like, how can I get the Litecoin version of Bitcoin? I mean, that's how synonymous Bitcoin is with cryptocurrency, that people think, Bitcoin is cryptocurrency. It's definitely a very powerful brand, and that's obvious, and that's one of the reasons all these coins want to fork off of it, because they get to use the Bitcoin name and immediately attain a certain level of respectability, I guess, a certain level. Someone else had their hand up there. Where did we go? Oh, maybe not. Any other?
Damien, I have it here.
Yes.
All right. How's it going, Adam?
Hey.
What do you think is going on with the tokenization of things? All these, ICOs. Do they have a purpose in the future? Or?
Well, I mean, I think in the future, it's going to be great to not have to, buy stocks and go through middlemen to invest in companies, and not, with Facebook, you were not allowed to be in on the initial public offering unless you were some rich insider, okay? And it's unfortunate that the regular guy couldn't get in on this. ICOs will allow the regular guy to get in on up and coming companies in the future. It will revolutionize the investment market. But right now there are definitely some problems, because so many of these companies totally fail, and the SEC is very interested in this. The ICOs are targets, so if you get involved with these things, you might get in. They're centralized entities. These ICOs are centralized entities. That's not what cryptocurrency is about to me. So these are suable entities, and so there's a lot of risk involved. All of us, they can change their rules at any time. They can say, hey, now you got to give me your personal information if you really want this token. So I don't think the whole world is going to be tokenized eventually. I think that's a little bit of a lot of people like to, that's like a big buzzword. You go to some of these corporate cryptocurrency events all over the world, all it is a big ICO presentation. And again, they can do what they want to do, but most of these companies, they're trying to raise a lot of money just using the term ICO, because they can't raise a lot of money. They can't raise any money any other way. And just a lot of naive people are jumping in on these companies that really have no future. And so I do not recommend anyone really play around in the ICO space, because again, some people have great intentions behind them, but like 90% of them fail, and then many of them are just straight up scams that they're just there to steal from you. But it is an innovation, and it will be very interesting to see how it evolves over time. All right.
I'll ask another one if that's cool.
All right. Yeah, sure.
So, what do you think about? What's your thoughts on EOS?
All right, that's something I forgot. Here's one. EOS is the flavor of the month altcoin. Every month there's a flavor of the month altcoin. Back in December it was IOTA. When I was in Korea, they were asking me about IOTA. I'm like, I don't know that much. What's going on with IOTA? Be careful. Just be real careful with these. I've seen them come and go. And the rock that sticks around is Bitcoin. That's another way to lose some Bitcoin, is buying in on these various flavor of the months. Sometimes they keep pumping for a while. Let's talk about Verge for a second, when we're talking about altcoins that are popular. Verge made some big announcement. They're affiliated with some pornography company or something. And everyone's like, oh man, that's awesome. Yeah, that's what cryptocurrency is all about. Good, these dark market type of things that people don't really want to talk about. And everyone started buying into it. They thought that was cool. And then all of a sudden, Verge gets 51% attacked. And that's a pretty bad thing, technically. But people were still buying into it. There are no technical good reasons sometimes behind these pumps. In fact, bad things can happen and coins can still pump. So you never know when your flavor of the month is going to stop pumping or why it might start pumping again. So EOS is supposed to be like the next Ethereum. I mean, I saw a tweet the other day from Matt Odell. He said like some guy noticed like 14 technical problems with EOS right away, and then they corrected them. But just that there were 14 problems, it just shows you that sometimes these things are so complicated that there's security issues. I mean, the more complexity is not a friend of security in the cryptocurrency world. So again, some of these cryptocurrencies present themselves, they're going to be able to do so much. It sounds so awesome, but the more complex they are, the more flaws there are, the more weak parts there are, and the less likely that you should really get into them for the long run, because something completely drastic could happen and the market could rationally react and sell off and you'll be stuck. But again, what people are saying is that's the Ethereum killer. I don't know. I'm not going to hype it up at all. Again, I've seen these flavors of the month come and go. It might last a while. Who knows? But since 2013, man, Bitcoin's been on top. I think it's gonna stay on top. And again, people are doing some cool things with Ethereum now too. But there's technical problems there. Might be another fork eventually. Who knows? It's centralized. Vitalik. Again, one of the great things about Bitcoin is there is no leader. The founder is dead or missing, or he can't be blackmailed. He can't be kidnapped. He can't tell people to do something that might not be in the best interest of the whole community. All the other coins have centralized figures that founded them, or groups that can be blackmailed, that can just say, hey, we need a bailout now, and just take the coin down a bad road. So that's another positive of Bitcoin. Yes, sir.
Actually, how many questions can you handle at once?
A lot, man. I'm pretty energetic here.
So, how many Bitcoins do you own?
How many Bitcoins do I own? I can't say that.
That's fine. How many Bitcoins are out there?
Are out there right now? 17 million, and there'll only be 21 million ever produced.
All right. And what's the kind of the speed, the processing speed? You want to use it and so forth. What's the speed, technical speed compared to Ethereum and others? Are you familiar with?
It varies. It varies. When you're talking about for a transaction to be confirmed, it varies. I mean, fast enough for me. Ethereum's been slow lately, hasn't it? I don't even. I do want to say one thing. When you asked about the number of Bitcoin that are out there, you know, so there's 17 million that are out there. There are only going to ever be 21 million. Probably 4 million are lost. Maybe 3 million are totally lost. So really, there might only be 18 million in circulation ever. And one thing to consider is if you own 21 Bitcoin, I mean, you own a millionth of. I mean, you'll be at least the millionth richest Bitcoin holder on the planet, and it'll be actually probably much better than that. So I mean, think of that in terms of you know, comparing it to fiat. If you were the millionth richest person on the planet, or the 100,000th richest person on the planet, that's pretty good. I mean, that's if you look at it that way, that's the beauty of this. There's only going to be ever 21 million, and so you can always know, you know, how many you own compared to how many are out there, and how much of the percentage of all the Bitcoins on Earth that you own, which is it's kind of overwhelming in a way if you think about it. Any other questions?
Yes. So, and what can you do with Bitcoin other than, you know, exchanging and selling? You were saying holding. What can you do with Bitcoin? You were saying that
yes, something that you can do.
Hold it and sit there and sleep.
Okay,
for
so
the rest
you
of
use
your
it,
life.
use it as a savings account, which is, you'll say that's doing nothing with it, but I'd say it's doing something with it. You can actually, there are some places that accept it where you can buy goods with it. You can buy goods online with it. But something that I like that people do with it, in Zimbabwe, for instance, there are capital controls. You can, if you have your money at a bank, you can't send that money out of the country. You cannot send your own money, supposedly your own money, out of the country. You can only get $50 worth of cash out of the bank. in a day. And then you can take the $50 over the border to South Africa and give it to someone. But if you have Bitcoin, you can do anything. You can send your wealth out of the country anytime you want to. It's a way to transfer value. It's a way to support groups that other people won't let you support. You can't, certain groups, you cannot use PayPal to send money to. PayPal won't let you do it. Credit cards won't let you do it. They censor your transaction. Even though you own the credit card, you own the PayPal, you own your bank won't let you deal with certain entities, send your cash to certain countries. Bitcoin, there's nothing stopping you. Bitcoin doesn't know borders. So as a transfer of value to supposedly bad people or bad entities, to unapproved organizations, it allows you to be involved in those things. If you want to be involved in the dark market, and I'm not encouraging these type of things at all, but it is something you can do with Bitcoin.
I understand the niche, and somebody else can create the same thing. So
Yes.
the reinventing Bitcoin, that's where my tendency of questions is. So they're inventing the Bitcoin for other uses. That's more because the others will kind of get your rag out of your feet. So what's the anything other than the same original concept or diversification within the Bitcoin?
Well, are you saying that that other altcoins are going to come up with specializations that Bitcoin can't do? So it's better to try out other that.
No, I'm saying that niche that I understand that, and that's not a problem.
What else can be done with Bitcoin? There are all sorts of, and I'm no expert in this, people building second layers on top of Bitcoin that can do all sorts of things. I don't know what the future will bring for Bitcoin. Although we couldn't predict back in 1997 social media being built on top of the internet. There are going to be things that are going to be built on top of Bitcoin that I cannot predict, that technical people are working on right now. Private, completely anonymous transactions. People are going to, right now Bitcoin is not totally anonymous. Eventually there will be anonymous transactions on top of Bitcoin. There will be solutions built on it to make it anonymous, for example.
Another final question. I'll
Yes.
let others give. This 17 million that they are sold out there, the fiat value of it, where it is?
Oh, it's 17 million times 6,500, whatever that is right now.
No, I understand, but the fiat value of that, the currency of that, the cash that was, or whatever they used to buy those coins, where is that amount of money? No. Correct.
Well, no, they didn't.
No. Trust. Yeah. No. The question is very simple.
Where did the fiat money go? Did they?
Where is the money?
There was no central authority to buy it from. It's whoever you bought the Bitcoin from. If you bought the Bitcoin from an exchange, the exchange has the fiat now.
Thank you. You got the answer.
Yeah. Wait, I can't hear you.
No. Excellent. Questions over here from the guy with the fancy T-shirt.
Yeah, I like that T-shirt.
Thank you, sir. No, I think he's just trying to establish the old adage of Bitcoin being the value of Bitcoin being on trust. It's just the value of it is in speculation at the time because there is no really a strong use case right now for it except on Japan and other countries. So I think that's what he's getting at. The fact that the value of Bitcoin relies on the trust of the people, that's what gives it value. Does that make sense, sir?
Yeah, I know what he's getting at. Yeah, I know what he's getting at. Yeah.
But anyway, I had a different type of question.
Yes, please.
My question has to do with the flavor of the day, which is Ethereum Classic.
Yes, because it just pumped because Coinbase said they're going to list it.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm a long-time holder of it, and I wanted to ask, like, based on the tech and all that, where do you see in the future of Ethereum Classic? Because they're not a lot in the news, and they're like hush hush.
Well, this is a great question, actually, because I consider Ethereum, again, I don't tell people to buy altcoins, but Ethereum Classic is a top-tier altcoin. It's being put on Coinbase. Barry Silbert is a big pumper of Ethereum Classic. Here's the deal. It's always going to serve as this insurance just in case Ethereum collapses. I mean, that's the way I see it. I had a guy on my show, Money Triggs. That's his Twitter handle. Follow him on Twitter. He is an Ethereum Classic fan, to say the least. And he predicted that it would end up on Coinbase, actually, because of the big names that are behind it, that Barry Silbert has a big interest in it. Some of the miners, in China, have some interest. I'm not going to name their names.
Also, the guy from Cardano, I forget his name, Hotskins. Oh.
Yeah, well, yeah, he had something to do with the Ethereum event. But the point is this, is that Ethereum, it's going back to Ethereum, and some people, when I got, they keep on saying they're going to go to proof of stake. They're going to go away from proof of work to proof of stake. Well, Ethereum Classic is proof of work, right. Okay? And so a lot of people say, well, if Ethereum goes to proof of stake, maybe there'll be a fork off of it that'll be proof of work. No, Ethereum Classic already exists, so people will jump to that in theory if Ethereum forks. So if Ethereum changes to proof of stake. So if Ethereum changes the proof of stake, if they really go through with this, it could be very good for Ethereum Classic. I mean, that's the bottom line. And what was brought up on my show now a few months ago. And there's some people that are holding it. It doesn't appear in the news that much because it isn't very glamorous or anything like that. And not many people are building ICOs on top of it. But Ethereum could mess up in a way where the ICOs might start to feel like, well, I got to do it on Ethereum and Ethereum Classic now. So I see, again, as a speculation. I mean, if you already hold your Ethereum Classic, I wouldn't sell it now. I'll tell you that. I would not. If you hold Ethereum Classic now, no way would I especially
no chance.
First of all, everything's down now anyway. So again, a lot of the people who would be here pumping their various altcoins aren't here because everything, it's not just, Bitcoin takes the full brunt of everything. In the news you hear, well, Bitcoin's down. All the other altcoins are down just as bad right now. Now, when things get going again, some of the altcoins will be going wild, much more than Bitcoin, and you'll hear about all these things. So anyway, going back to Ethereum Classic though, once things get rolling again in the market, and maybe Ethereum messes up, then who knows what you can see from Ethereum Classic? Who knows? So yeah, hang on to your Ethereum Classic.
Last one, and I'll let
please.
Everyone else. Where do you see Substratum going? It's got something going.
What?
Substratum. Substratum.
You see now you got. Yeah, see now you're going deep.
You don't know Substratum?
Yeah, again, so now you're going deep. Now you're going.
I'm not.
Yeah, you are.
It's a great coin.
That's
great
not
product.
a top. You see, that's not a top tier at all. That's not top tier. There's so many of them out there. I'll tell you, I'm not going to comment on it because I don't know enough about it. Definitely, it's not a top tier. I mean, you're good with the Ethereum Classic, dude, and you got Bitcoin. What's your shirt? You've got Bitcoin too, so you're good. You're good to go, man.
Yeah, okay. Dennis Rodman.
Yeah, Dennis. Yeah, go with Dennis Rodman. Be an 80%er,
What do you think is the answer to the scalability issues of
of
Bitcoin? Like, so you think the Lightning?
Yeah, let's see what it goes with Segwit and Lightning. Give it some time. We just got to be patient. I mean, things aren't crowded yet anyway. So I mean, never rush these things. Make sure everything's tested and take your time. We'll see. I think that'll solve it. If it doesn't solve it and everybody agrees on a hard fork one day, then maybe there will be a hard fork. But the hard fork should be the last option.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, since Bitcoin is not private per se, what recommendation do you have for a privacy coin?
Interesting question. Well, if you're really interested in like, if you really got to do something super duper private, I mean, so someone said Zcash. Someone said, so here are the options. You get the Zcash, you get the Monero, and I guess you get the Dash also. And so, again, there are other ones like Z Classic, like B Private, which are just forms of Zcash. From what I've heard, Monero might be the best one for that now. I don't know. One of the things that intrigues me, though, is that Monero and Zcash and Dash are all top-tier altcoins. Now, I don't know about Dash in terms of its privacy. I've heard different things. But, again, it seems like Zcash and Monero are really the ones vying for true privacy. Apparently, people have used Monero on the dark markets before. That's a real use case. I wouldn't know. But it's really actually being used because so few coins are actually being used. But one of the things that does intrigue me about about some of these crypto dividends, at least, like how when Bitcoin, the fork, the B private fork of Bitcoin, basically it's just giving every Bitcoin holder Zcash because Z Classic, all that was Zcash. So I would love for Zcash to be the best one because all of us got free B private, and I think that's be fun to experiment to see how private it is. But I am not the technical guru to say which one is really best, but it seems like people are leaning people are leaning toward Monero now. People are leaning toward Monero a little bit, but now all these Zcash people are going to say, no, Meister, you're totally wrong, you don't know what you're talking about. So
Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
The question is really for you and for the rest of you, because especially I want to hear from you. What event or day got you to say, yes, I know it's working. Now I understand Bitcoin. I'll tell you, I bought $150 and I bought it at $250 when it was one Bitcoin in that moment, but it just felt like I was playing. And then later on is when I really saw it.
I think there's two different moments that really were big for me in Bitcoin. I had when I first started hearing about it in 2011, I was like, this might just be like getting in on the internet in 1994. And I was obviously way too young then to get in on buying internet.com companies or Amazon or anything like that. Well, there wasn't Amazon yet, but I'm like, I think this is going to change the world like the internet. It's like, but it didn't really stick with me yet until there was a pump in 2013. It came back into the news again, and it wasn't the pump to 1100. It was the pump before that. And then I didn't know then. I just knew. I'm like, I remember when it was pumping when it was worth very little. It seemed like it was sketchy back then. Now it's pumped to 200 or whatever. I'm like, this is really intriguing now. This is going to change the world. I know this is going to change the world. And then, but I was still hesitant. I didn't have the aggressiveness that I should have had yet. I was still too, I guess I wanted to hear one last, I didn't want to send my money to Japan, basically. That was the way you had to do it through Mt. Gox. And I'm glad I did wait a little bit. Then once the Coinbase thing came around in 2013, I'm like, now it's easy. It must be done now. And once I had my first two, because I bought two right away, I was just totally convinced of that part. I'm like, now I have it at Coinbase, even though I really didn't control it yet. I had it, it's mine now. And now that I know I'm in it, I really know this is going to be bigger than the internet, maybe. This might be bigger than the internet. And I'm just going to try to get more and more and learn more and more about it. So I guess it was a process, but when I finally made the move to get my first two, it was like, it's not stopping here. It's not stopping now. And then I think finally, there was one other moment I think that's very important in my whole Bitcoin career when I started really not even caring about fiat anymore, because I had some fiat in my bank account, a good amount because I had sold a house. And there's a guy, Vinny Lingham, who's on Twitter, a very smart guy. I had seen him speak in South Africa in 2015. And in 2016, he started making these predictions. And again, one of the things I forgot to say is, just because some magical guru is saying he's the guru flavor of the month, don't follow the guru. Don't ever put someone on a super pedestal. So I'm not saying that I put Vinny on a pedestal. I had been very familiar with him for a while, though. I thought he was a very smart guy. But he started kind of explaining why he thought Bitcoin would be $3,000 by the end of 2017. He thought it would be and this is back when it was like $400. He thought or $600 or $500, whatever. He gave some really logical reasons, like countries are going to eventually buy it and compete against each other. I mean, that was one of the big ones that stick. I forgot what some of his other reasons were, but he gave some really good logical reasons why, you know, it's cheap now, and you're going to see soon that it's going to be worth a lot more. And there was a part of me that always had that hesitation, like, well, when is it going to be worth I cared more about the time frame then. And then I did think to myself, like, wait a second. If it's going to be $3,000 in 2017, I'm going all in freaking now. I'm going all in with everything I got left. And I did. And so, and it was good. That was a good move on my part. And that was an important moment in my evolution also. But again, it wasn't from guru worship. It was from, you know, studying, you know, becoming familiar with a lot of smart, again, and it wasn't just Vinny that I was familiar with, a lot of smart people. So get yourself familiar with smart people out there. World Crypto Network. There are a lot of guys on Twitter. The people I talk about on my shows that I quote a lot. It's good to get a diversification of smart people out there, and it can be very inspirational at times.
When did you figure out this is our sponsor. This is the reason why you guys have pizza back there and drinks.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jason.
You're welcome. So the reason why I picked up Bitcoin, I was actually in the 2013 when Bitcoin was at the height. When it hit 1,400, I'm like, oh my God, this is going high. So I bought in, and for the 2 years in 2014 through 2016, I lost all my money. I was buying Litecoin at $40. Then I went to 38, 37, 35, 34. Buying more, doubling down, went to 19, went to 14, went to 5, 4, 3, 2, until the point that you have to sell it because that's it's just not worth anything. So you just rather take your loss. And the reason why I bought Bitcoin is because there's only a finite number. There's only a fixed amount. And people eventually, what Adam Meister has gone into discussions in the past, that America is going to wake up with the inflation. We keep printing more and more dollars, and America, the government, they can do whatever they want with our fiat. They can print more and more and more, and that's an issue. And that's what got me into buying Bitcoin. So.
And these are the guys who did it right and all that. So I was the opposite. I found it very interesting. So what I did is I started, the reason why I'm with Bitcoin Cash is because when I had 3 or 4, I started giving them away. I felt that movement was the way we get to that $7,000 your friend thought. And by the way, I also had friends that knew it was going to be $7,000, and then they were wrong. And then they knew it was, and they were wrong. And then they knew, and then eventually they were right.
I first heard Trace Mayer in 2014. And promptly forgot about Bitcoin because I was listening to somebody who I had a lot of respect for, who didn't think too much of it. And I came back to it again in 2017. And when I've been looking at credit markets and the Federal Reserve for years and years and years, since the mid-90s. And I happen to agree with what this gentleman said about fixed amount and understand the issue of an asset which can't be issued forever. But the real epiphany came when I realized that if properly stored, if we look at the history of man, there's never been a time, there's never been a thing, there has never been anything. The only thing that exists in the world today, and it's unique, and no other coin has it, is properly stored Bitcoin cannot be taken from you. This is the only thing in the world which cannot be stopped or taken from you because it's a decentralized network which is unstoppable. Using a Gotenna, using satellites, using a distributed mining network, which is being improved upon right now. This will go on and on and on and operate, and I can kill you, I can lock you up, but I can't take your Bitcoin. I can take your stocks, I can take your house, I can take any property you have, I can take everything you have, I can take all your future earnings, assuming I'm the government and I have this power. I cannot take your Bitcoin, because if you've stored it properly, if you know your mnemonic, if you store it with a passphrase on a tracer, it can't be taken from you. And as the Visa commercial goes, that's priceless. It may be the only use case, but it's worth a staggering amount of money. That's why I like Bitcoin, and everything else will come from that.
Pound that like button, people. Seriously.
Is that Ethereum? Or is that Ethereum Gold Platinum?
That's an Ethereum guy.
Ethereum?
What is your comment to quantum computing and having
Oh,
them
quantum computing.
potentially you
Well,
plug in the public address, go through algorithm, give me your private
That's
key?
a classic FUD line there. People are like, quantum computing will be able to crack Bitcoin eventually.
Well, if you use Glover's algorithm with quantum computing, enough qubits could crack a private key.
They'll be able to upgrade Bitcoin to be able to defeat quantum computing, is
Yeah,
what
that's
I've been
true.
told. They'll once it becomes a viable threat, or before, when it's...
It'll take like 5 to 10 years for a big enough quantum computer with enough qubits to actually get to that point, but
yeah, so
eventually something will need to be upgraded.
Eventually, if it becomes a serious threat, they'll be able to upgrade Bitcoin to be able to defeat it.
Yeah.
It's not. I don't. You're a smart dude. You enjoy talking about those type of subjects and everything. There's some dudes out there that just like spit it out as a buzzword to scare people away. They're like, quantum computing will be able to do it now, and perhaps it will, but it's not something to worry about on the long-term thinking, though. Yeah, it should be on the developers' radars. It should be on people's radars.
Yeah,
so.
and it's beyond the 51% attack. It's more of like, okay, I plug in your private key address, give me your private key.
Yeah.
And okay, I'm going to hack this wallet. I mean, eventually, if we get to that point to where quantum computers are, like you said, it's more of a mid to long-term
Think of it
issue.
this way. If we get to the world of quantum computing, we're going to be living like in a society where we have everything, right? I mean, I don't know if we even need money anymore. Will we post-scarcity society or something like that? Well,
yeah.
I mean, we'll be traveling to different planets. So who knows?
My answer to that is very simple. So it should be a factor, right? So quantum computing will be that it will be 100 billion times faster than the current computers. All right, so now it doesn't need until the end of time to calculate it. It needs only to, 10 billion years from now. They can have my Bitcoin in 10 billion years.
That's true.
What would happen in 2020 if the mining is just not profitable and Bitcoin is still around the current price that it is right now? Then the halving happens, and it's just not profitable to mine. What would be the case then? I'm not looking for the future. I mean, is that kind of why Bitcoin Cash was created? I mean,
No.
I don't like Bitcoin Cash. I'm just saying, Right. But it wouldn't make any sense. It's not profitable for the miners to mine. That means the network would slow down.
Yeah.
And
As the miners back out, the difficulty, it becomes less expensive to mine.
because the difficulty keeps going up and up and up.
Yeah, difficulty goes down as miners back.
I gotta catch up.
All right, okay. Well, these are very theoretical here. I'm saying, let's wait and see. Let's. I don't foresee that. I don't foresee that. Anyone? Any questions? Anything? The last Bitcoin is what? Is it 2132? Is the last year? The last Bitcoin will be mined. 21. 2132 or 40 or something. We're probably not going to be alive unless they come up with some awesome life extension technology, which I hope they do. That would be awesome. I'd love to see that part of the 22nd century. But yeah. Yeah, the transaction fees, yeah. No. Oh, blah. Okay. Yeah. That they're saying for one. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you have or if you recommend that next time we see a parabolic move on Bitcoin, to sell some of it, not all of it, but sell some of it, and buy back at a lower price.
No, you see, you
and
don't
accumulate more
No,
Bitcoin.
no. Again, it's a you want to pay taxes? I mean, be my guest.
Go to Tether. You can go to Tether.
I get. Then you're no. That's it. These exchanges some now will have your social security number. So I would not play games with the government. I wouldn't play those games at all. Again, you can't. But the basic thing is you can't time it. You don't know if it'll ever go back down again. You don't know. It's safer just to hold it. It's safer just, in my opinion. Again, you shouldn't be in a position where you need to sell Bitcoin. You don't want to get into life. You never want to get into a position where you have to tap your savings account. It's supposed to be for like really far in the future, your savings account, for when you retire or I don't know, when you have kids or have grandkids. I don't know. So you only buy the Bitcoin that you can afford to buy. Do not, use your home equity line of credit to buy a bunch of Bitcoin. I mean, some people have been successful doing it, but that's not a good idea. Not a good idea at all. So you don't want to be in the situation where you need to do anything with your Bitcoin, where you need to take, some profits now. Yeah, just use it as a savings account.
Actually, because of someone I brought up.
Oh, yeah.
He mentioned a good point as far as the miners. So if somebody with an idea that don't need the miners, so the whole concept here is deflated. Is that right? Or
you're saying if they don't need the mine, what did you?
Yeah, if someone
Yeah.
comes across a concept that basically facilitates the miners to the point that they don't have to scratch their head and pick their ear with right hand, so it makes it much easier, what happens?
Yeah. No, but I mean, I thought maybe you were asking like a better way of creating cryptocurrency than mining. Well, IOTA says they can do that, so look into IOTA, I guess. IOTA says that what's IOTA's trick called? It's called yeah. I don't even know. There are altcoins that are trying that. IOTA. Yeah, I mean, but he's asking. Yeah, so it's that there are other things experimenting out there. So I know IOTA comes to mind. Hashgraph. Yeah, there's yeah, but again, keeping it. Those are very complicated new things. So I mean, do it. It's personal responsibility out there. If you want to invest in it, definitely. But so someone is trying something different. A lot of people are trying different things.
Hi, Adam. My name's Josue. Since we've been talking a little bit about security, I wanted to ask, you were mentioning when Bitcoin forked, how your Trezor wallet provides you the ability to just fork it by itself. Are there other wallets that do the same thing? Because I have a Nano Ledger S.
Yeah, okay.
And
so
I'm not sure if that one.
Ledger, yes. Ledger provided a solution for when Bcash and BGold came out. It did. But again, you would have had to have
at the time of
had your Bitcoin at the time of the fork. But yeah, they did it, and there were other ones. For those were the two big ones. Other entities created splitters also, but I definitely know Trezor and Ledger definitely did. Yeah.
Thanks.
So on the topic of 51% attacks, do you think something might happen on Bitcoin soon? I've just been like speculating.
No, not big. It's too expensive for Bitcoin. I think we're going to see a lot of it in the altcoins, though. And I think it might freak a lot of people out if it keeps like there was a chart that showed how easy it was to do on all sorts of different ones. I mean, how did if like 10 got attacked in a day or something like that?
So in the event of a 51% attack happening, who would be the one that decides the proof of work change on Bitcoin? Would it be Bitcoin Core? Or
it's what everybody agreed. Everybody, I mean, there would be a fork. Anyone could do that. I mean, it's but if it was serious, if there was some type of serious threat to Bitcoin, I'm not saying if 51% is a serious threat. I think it would be pretty unanimous that it would be time to change and to fork off in a different direction and do something different. So, I mean, who knows who would suggest it originally, but I think everybody would jump on the train and agree. I mean, again, there is no, it's, you know, majority rule type. I mean, it's whoever does it. Yeah.
And another question with 51% attacks, know what percent attack or
to know when it happens?
Yeah.
Someone usually makes an announcement. Well, social media, well, I guess.
Let's say like the miners decide to reverse a transaction. Would that be known, or like would it just slide under the radar?
No, wouldn't. It would be. So, I think the other miners would know, or it would leak out. People would. There's a way to figure it out. I'm not. It's a good question. How to detect it? The simplest way to detect it. The simplest way. But I think you're saying, like, I mean, if you weren't involved in that transaction, you wouldn't know. Like, how would the whole world know? I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a deep question.
Yeah. An addendum to that too, and I mentioned this in one of my videos. Andreas Antonopoulos has some great videos on that type of stuff. I mean, I don't think he said that. Ask him. I don't know if he gave that talked about that specific question or not, but he is a great source of information on stuff like that. Yeah, keep watching him. He's great.
Thanks.
All right. Any others? All right. Yeah. It's been great, and I guess on a closing note, just bring the passion to other people. Stay enthused. We've lived through this. We've lived through downtimes before, and after the downtimes, there was always uptimes. So stay happy. Have a strong hand. Pound that like button. Thanks a lot, everyone.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. If you want to hang out for a bit longer and network, I think Adam's going to be around for a little bit. So thank you guys so much for coming.